Hello, all of my little nymph roaches out there. That's right, we learned last week that a nymph is a baby roach, which I think is appropriate in so many ways. Also, many of folk have written in that the group of roaches is what, a swarm? Now I can't remember. Now that I'm bringing it up, I can't remember. Cool brain so far, Josh. I'll tell you what's going on with that in a moment, but I want to first and foremost say thank you to each and every one of you who came out to the DC Improv. A dream come true performing at that club. When you're a little baby comic, the DC Improv is one of those clubs that's up there that you just can't even fathom headlining someday, and I got to do it for the first time, and it was as electric as I could have ever imagined. So thank you for coming out to that show if you did. And we have more shows coming, my friend. I'm going to announce some on the East Coast for the start of 2022, and beyond that, we have a bunch of shows in the city of Buffalo. Thanksgiving weekend, 5 shows to be exact. So pleased to be buying tickets to my shows at Helium Comedy Club, the club that started it all for your boy here. Also, I'm going to be on the road with Tom a little bit here and there, and we'll see. We're going to add some shows hopefully for December as well. To get all the tickets, go to Josh_Potter on my Instagram there, or on Instagram there. That's where my profile is, Josh_Potter. The link is in the bio, or you can get in the bio of my Twitter at J_Potter, or simply just by Googling your boy. Thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and all of those things. Continue to do that, and continue to send off your stories to joshpottershow@gmail.com. Without the Roach reporters out there, I'd have no news. I'd have nothing to talk about. Some days I just sit there going, what on earth am I going to talk about on the program? And thankfully, the Roach reporters bringing topics of interest to us all of the time. We have so many this evening for you. And thank you to Griff Parker, by the way, who sent this instrumental, Mustang, off to the email, joshpottershow@gmail.com. As far as our little contest is going between Sarah and Chase, Sarah Weinshank, Chase O'Donnell, both frequent guests of the program, favorites, if you will, guessing the rushing touchdown totals of running backs based off of their outfits. That was in previous episodes, a couple of back that you can go look at, but we're in week 4 now, and I've got the results posted up. Every time I wait till Wednesday or Thursday as the next week's about to begin, so check my Instagram for the results as of tomorrow or the next day as you are viewing this on a Tuesday. But yes, we have so much to get into, friends. I am excited. So many things. We're going to do a hybrid today, as if I wasn't fried enough, but the printer decided to run out of ink a little earlier than forecasted, so I'm going to be doing a bit of a hybrid, bouncing back and forth between the phone and a few papers. But so many Roach reporters out there sending things in, I do have to let you know. I mean, I might seem a little off on this program today. It's because I literally just stepped off a plane, did a quick, trip to DC, as I mentioned, got back here to film the podcast, but I don't know what it is about airlines, what's going on with them. I guess COVID or something, but I've had this happen about 4 or 5 times now in this year alone. And that's they're delaying flights because they don't have enough flight attendants. And then you have to wait for one to show up. I don't know if they're flying in from another place or if you have to wait for them to pull up to the airport and drive to work. Sometimes it takes 2 hours. It's a new I've never had that delay prior to 2021. So I don't know. I mean, can we give a goog on that? Is that a thing that is prevalent enough to have a sort of an article about it, I wonder, Kirsten, just see if flight attendant shortage causing delays. I don't know what to Google for that, but it's just so weird. And then one comes and shows up and you're like, one time I was on the plane. I was sitting on the plane to go just from Phoenix to LA, which is a 45-minute flight, not even an hour. And I was sitting there on the tarmac for 2 hours. Each time it's been about 2 hours. What does it say up there? You can interrupt me if you have found something.
No, I'm just kind of laughing because one of the articles is even Southwest Airlines is having problems with no attendant.
Even Southwest? What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
As if they're the premier one to work for?
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, no, everybody, I fly United primarily. That's just what I get my frequent flyer mileage on, and it's happened so often. And maybe it's just people will write in the comments, oh, that's what you get for using United, like they know anything better. But I just thought it was odd, and it's really fucking up my life, I'll tell you that. I mean, just travel is already cumbersome. If you do it for your job, you know it too. And I don't usually like to bitch about travel. It's the one stupid part about this awesome job that I've found myself in. But, I don't like to bitch about it, but I've been doing it Xanax-less the last few times. And I've noticed the reason to do Xanax for me is to keep me not peaked out. Do you know what I mean? I get the hairs are standing up on my arms. I'm a little peaked. Do you know does that make sense? Like, I had a guy who, I have my carry-on or whatever. You got to put your carry-on in the thing in the ceiling. And this guy had a windbreaker up there, taking up a spot in the carry-on thing. And Josh on Xanax would have just ignored it. Josh, not on Xanax, was so peaked, I took the windbreaker out and threw it at the guy, and I go, come on. And then I went, I'm sorry. I don't know why. I just acted like I knew you. And I apologized profusely. But that's the kind of thing I was like, whoa, what are you doing? And that's scary. For some people, drugs and alcohol make them do things like that. For me, it's the drugs and stuff like that keeps me from doing things like that. So I don't know. Maybe I got to get back on there. I mean, people are always like, oh, it's a prescription. Don't fucking worry. But nevertheless, and I didn't like how it was making me feel. So I stopped doing it. And I thought maybe I should learn how to fly without this. And didn't work. Hasn't worked. Isn't working. So maybe I'll get back onto the old train there. But let's get into some news. Let's use Grass Kingdoms again for the news and sports intro. Those were fun last week. Let's try them again. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to go to the phone on this one because this is a top breaking story. This one coming to us by way of Dusty Kessler on the old Instagram. He sent this bad boy to me. And I found this one to be wildly entertaining. Oh, please tell me I don't have to sign up for the Wall Street Journal to read this. This is the problem with the links. But here we are. I'm good. I've got it. This comes out of Kabul. We've been talking quite a bit about seaman terrorists. We've been talking about seaman terrorism, this old-fashioned terrorism. We brought it up last week how the terrorists are just kind of pouty. The people in the Taliban, the people who are in whatever is left of ISIS or Al-Qaeda or what have you, they're pouting because they're like, we don't get the fun jihads. They're all like, boo-hoo. They thought they were going to sign up and get to fly. It's not all flying planes into buildings, fellas. There's, ditch diggers in the terrorism community too, they don't want to do the struggle anymore. They're just looking for the glory at this point. That's what we learned last week. What's going on over there now. Dusty Kessler sent this bad boy in out of Kabul. It's an interesting headline. Afghanistan's Taliban warn its foot soldiers, behave and stop taking selfies. That's right. People think Gen Z is going to be the downfall and reason this country is toppling. Get ready, friends. It's going to be the reason that the enemy topples as well. Gen Z is not just our Gen Z. Gen Z is all over the world, and I'm not shitting on Gen Z. I think they've come up with some great stuff. Ass eating, that's pretty good. They're pretty good at that. They're bringing that out. I talk about it on stage. Come see a live show at Josh_Potter on Instagram and at J_Potter on Twitter to get tickets. But yes, Gen Z is infiltrating the Taliban as well, and all the old Taliban folk are starting to stick their nose up at them the way that people do around here. They're like, look at them on their phones, taking selfies and things like that. Wild. Let's get into the article and see if there's any other examples of Gen Z just ruining our enemies. Rank-and-file Taliban fighters have been having too much fun in Kabul after seizing the Afghan capital without a fight last month, and the Taliban leadership has now issued a stern order to stop. They're having too much fun in Kabul. Tough to do. I mean, I would give them a pat on the back if they figured out a way to do that, but they are upset in the Taliban leadership. Thousands of young Taliban men from all over the country, many of whom have never been to a big city before, were deployed in Kabul after Afghan Republic collapsed August 15th. When not on duty, they sightsee, picnic, visit amusement parks in a tangle of guns and turbans. Taliban fighters from elsewhere in Afghanistan have, well, that's the end of the article for me. It's not going to let me look at it, is it? Did it do this when you looked at it, Kirsten?
No, I think I have some of it here. What part did you just last read?
I don't remember. I left that paragraph. It says Taliban fighters from elsewhere in Afghanistan have ... and then it just stopped, and it's like, buy a subscription to this.
Oh, it says Taliban fighters from elsewhere in Afghanistan have also come to Gach at Kabul on tourist trips.
That's wild to me because, I mean, I don't know anything about Kabul. I'm not going to lie. Or Kabul, or however you want to say it. It turns out they have amusement parks. I wouldn't have guessed that. I would think that the amusement park was a broken down Black Hawk helicopter that the kids sit in and take photos, maybe. I don't know. But turns out they have amusement parks. But these people are going to Kabul going like, whoa, it's like a kid from Oklahoma going to New York City for the first time. They're acting like they're like sightseeing and they think they're in the top of the world. Can you make that really big for me, Kirsten? Can you zoom in on it? Let's see how big we can get it. If I can even come close. If you make it slightly bigger, I'll be able to read it. Can you do it? Is that as big as it goes? Oh, I think I can read that. All right, center it. Hell yeah. Let's see if me read a screen across the room. Oh, that's tough that you have to scroll like that. Okay, I can read that. Hell yeah, look at that. Okay, let me see here. The Kabul Zoo, I'll take it from there. The Kabul Zoo, too, was filled with excited Taliban members. A round of impromptu wrestling, a popular spot. Is that what that says? This is hilarious. I'm just reading poorly. What does that say?
Yeah, you have a popular sport in Afghanistan.
A popular sport in Afghanistan. Oh, so they're wrestling at the zoo, or they're just wrestling incidentally?
Yeah, they're just wrestling on front lawns.
Let's see if I can do it. Was taking place on a lawn, which usually serves as a picnic spot. Fighters, along with some of the curious non-Taliban families, sat on the grass watching. Okay, so they're just talking about the wrestling ad nauseum here. Why don't you give me a read?
Yeah, there's a nice quote here, and it says, the guy says, "I loved seeing the lion because we are also lions."
Ooh, so he's talking about going to the zoo?
Mm-hmm. He hails from the province of Farah. I was ready to be a suicide attacker. Now I'm happy that I am seeing Islamic law come to Kabul.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's the thing. These guys all were like, I want to be the guy with the vest. I want to be the pilot on the plane. But that's not everyone gets to be that. That's what we all learn here. That's maybe the most democratic thing that they could possibly learn. You're not the main character of the movie. You are just a foot soldier at this point. So just do what they say and stick with that, you know? So that's interesting. Gen Z in the Taliban. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. We'll get more into it next week when maybe we can print the thing, but I can't believe it ran out on my screen. That is so funny. Wall Street Journal that's the problem, taking money. Let's go to the old paper here because we have another interesting story. This one coming to us not from a Roach reporter. This one I found, which I think is funny. Our other topic of curiosity oftentimes is the country of China. I am fascinated by them. People think, China's going to infiltrate us. They're going to take over this country. Guess what, babe? They already have. Financially, they own a lot of real estate. I mean, they're here, baby. But maybe you'll be more excited about their slow takeover once you hear about this. Or maybe this will actually make you less excited. I, for one, am less excited. I'll tell you why. China bans effeminate men from television. I guess I'll never get on if they did that over here in America. China's government banned effeminate men on television and told broadcasters Thursday to promote revolutionary culture, broadening a campaign to tighten control over business and society and enforce official morality. President Xi has called for a national rejuvenation with tighter Communist Party control of business, education, culture, and religion. Companies and the public are under increasing pressure to align with its vision for a more powerful China and a healthier society. The party has reduced children's access to online games and is trying to discourage what it sees as unhealthy attention to celebrities. That's to some elderly people here or people of middle age or what have you of a previous generation, that doesn't sound so bad, does it? People, you do that to your children, try and make them stop playing so many video games. You're like, why are they worshiping this TikTok star? China's just making it a government thing. I bet there would be people here that didn't think that was so bad at the end of the day. Broadcasters must resolutely put an end to sissy men and other abnormal aesthetics on the television, a TV regulator said, using an insulting slang term for effeminate men. He used Niang Pao. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Mandarin style. Niang Pao, which means girly guys. That's not so bad. I thought it was going to mean the F one. The FAG one, you know? I thought that's what they were going to say it was. I wonder what that word is in Mandarin. Any Mandarin folk out there want to let me know, please write in, joshpottershow@gmail.com. That reflects official concern that Chinese pop stars, influenced by the sleek, girlish look of some South Korean and Japanese singers and actors, are failing to encourage China's young men to be masculine enough. Broadcasters should avoid promoting vulgar internet celebrities and admiration of wealth and celebrity, the regulator said. Instead, programs should vigorously promote excellent Chinese traditional culture, revolutionary culture, and advanced socialist culture. Man, it is getting so blurry what is communism and what is just happening here in America. Like, this on one hand could be the most right-wing of right-wing person saying stuff like this about video games are bad. I mean, how many times do you hear that garbage over the years? Video games cause violence. We should stop worshiping celebrities like Kim Kardashian, talentless celebrities. Bah, bah, bah. You hear that all the time. Right-wing and left-wing people are always like saying the same shit about like we got to regulate this and regulate language like that. So, I mean, it's all blurring together. What is going on in the world? We're just basically, I mean, maybe this is China's influence on us. We're basically not too far off. Nothing's happened like that, of course. Of course, China can just go like this and implement laws like this. We can't do that. But what do you think about them taking the sissy men off the television? I wonder which ones would get the axe if they could come through American television in as far as news goes and things like that. Anderson Cooper, would he be considered a sissy man? He is gay, but he doesn't read sissy to me. You know? I think he would be safe. He could sneak by their censors and not be considered a sissy man. Although some of you out there would probably disagree with that. Rachel Maddow, she's a manly woman. I mean, she would get like, they would like salute her in China. I feel like they'd be like, we need more men like you. And she's like, I'm a woman. And they'd be like, whoops. Maybe we got to rewrite another policy. Who knows how they would come through with their comb. I mean, Andy Cohen wouldn't have a job, but he's there to like talk about celebrities. Yeah, he definitely wouldn't have a job in China at all. I can't think of any others. I mean, let me know who would get the axe out there if there's anybody you think is... I don't watch enough cable news anymore to know. Don Lemon would get the axe. He's up there crying all the time. They'd be like, this guy's a sissy. Get him off the fucking television. We're done with him. So yeah, that's China. That's wild. Meanwhile, in Florida, speaking of homophobia and things like that, a homophobic man shot a doctor for making him come during a prostate exam. Could you imagine that? You're in there getting a prostate exam. I haven't had one of those yet. I'm creeping up to the age. I need to start doing more medical attention to myself, as I'm sure many of you out there already came to the realization of prior to me coming to the realization of that. But I got to start going to the doctor and things on a regular basis, more than I already do. I do it once in a while. You know, we talked about the Xanax prescription earlier. I did it to go re-up that guy. But that's not necessarily getting a physical and things like that. I need to do those things. And I need to just like chill on... my metabolism has like really hit the brakes, and I would say the last 2 months, I got to chill on like throwing garbage down my gullet here because daddy's getting bigger as I take a sip of this. But could you imagine going to the doctor, getting a prostate exam, having them make you come? I would walk away going like, well, thanks, doc. Hey, look at that. I would walk away cheery and chipper. Maybe I would schedule more appointments at the doctor, and it wouldn't be so hard to twist my arm to get me to go in there if this happened. That wasn't how this man took it. One man from the Sunshine State didn't like how his appointment with an MD went down, and he shot him. The patient's name is Milo Johnson, and he's a car salesman in Jacksonville. The dude's beef, well, his doctor, Dr. Smith, which doesn't seem like a real doctor name. Now I'm starting to get concerned. Dr. Smith, maybe he's like not a real doctor, and he's just going around making people come in the examination room. He gave him an orgasm during a prostate exam. Apparently, this isn't unusual. Man, I got to get some of these Now I'm excited. They should tell you this. All these guys out there who are, I don't want to do it. They're really dragging their feet as far as getting the prostate exam goes. You got to start doing an awareness campaign that it might make you come. So the patient's name again, Milo Johnson. He came during this whole thing. Apparently, this isn't unusual. The prostate is the male G-spot, and it carries semen. It is very sensitive, so when it is touched and massaged, you get an orgasm with almost no effort, Dr. Smith explained. Seems like Dr. Smith really covering all his bases here. I mean, why? I don't know what a prostate exam entails, but I am curious. Massaging? I don't know. That's a weird word to put in there. He mentioned, he goes, sometimes it's when it's touched and massaged. Well, of course, but were you massaging it, doctor, during the prostate exam? Johnson is said to be deeply homophobic, though, so he must have felt unmoored when he accidentally shot his wad during the exam. I understand that Milo was shocked by what happened to him. An orgasm meant something sexual had taken place between us, and he became very aggressive, Dr. Smith said. Good that Dr. Smith lived to tell this tale. Johnson ordered the doctor to apologize. Oh, imagine that. He just sitting there doing a prostate exam, and this poor guy, he's like, fuck! You just make me come? And he's like, now he thinks he's gay. Oh, that's so beautiful. Because he's so homophobic. Most of us would just be like, I think I came. That was crazy. I think he made me come. The doctor kisses his neck after. Is like, that's just part of the exam, sweetheart. Then it would really fuck with his head. So Johnson ordered the doctor to apologize and say no homo. What are we, 5? No homo? If anyone's still saying no homo non-ironically out there, I don't know. They're not a redeeming person. A phrase the doctor was unfamiliar with. Yeah, right. He's making all these dudes come all the time. He probably heard this a whole bunch. He tried to calm Johnson down, but the homophobic man pulled his gun and shot Dr. Smith twice in the chest at close range. Good God. And the guy lived? I wonder if one of the shots was just another load to his chest. Seems like he got a couple more rounds out before the fucking gun was fired. The doctor is fully recovered, but Johnson has not been seen since. What we don't get is why Johnson didn't just appreciate that his procedure was not only painless, but pleasurable. Well, that's what I said there, writer of this article. I don't understand why he's not shaking the man's hand. I'd go to that doctor 1,000 times. If there was a Yelp review, 5 stars, he'll make you come. Oh, my Lord, sign me up. Makes me want to get fucking health insurance just so I can figure it out. There is a website, is there not, Kirsten, of doctors? What is it called? Like Compare Your Doctor or something like that? It was like the teacher's one. What was that website? Rate Your Professor. Yeah. Imagine if it was like your professor will give you an A and he'll make you come. That would be something I'd sign up for that class. But this is the same thing. I think there is like a blue book on doctors out there where it's like reviews. I don't remember the name of the website, but I was looking at it at one point to see. Oh, you're going to give it a Google here? Let's check it out. What does it say? Is anything yielding results? Huh. I'm sure there's something out there, but make sure you let us know which doctors out there making you come, folks. Next up, I know we have so many viewers over in the UK. Overseas, I get emails all the time from people in Australia and the UK, various parts of the world. But here in the UK now, this is a big story for you, excuse me. Police are concerned. Police have issued a warning to shops over a concerning new viral trend involving baked beans. Shops have been urged to look out for children buying large quantities of the tinned goods, while parents are being encouraged to check their cupboards. It comes after beaning, a bizarre new trend, took off on social video sharing app TikTok, the Mirror reports. Beaning involves children smearing baked beans onto people's driveways, doors, and cars, and of course, filming it. Beaning indeed. Can we get a couple of images, perhaps, if there is any, Kirsten? Like, give it a search here if it's so prevalent. Now, in UK and in England, I know that London or what have you. I never know. England is like Wales and stuff, right? In the UK, or is that the UK? United Kingdom is like Wales, the other places, and then England is England. Am I wrong? Okay, cool. I hope I'm right. Someone's going to correct me out there. I'm so stupid about how they work out that way. But I know one thing is true. They have baked beans for breakfast, which I always found odd. But that means beans are prevalent in their culture, and they are all over the place. And now people are beaning. What are these images that we're looking at here? Is that someone's car with beans on it? Interesting. It seems like this would be a thing that happened since the dawn of time. Why it's becoming so prevalent now, I do not know, but let's see if the article sheds any light. Numerous videos have been posted on social media with the hashtag Bean Bandits. Ooh, that's fun. That's way better than the semen terrorists that we heard some of those nicknames in an email that one time. Hashtag Bean Bandits. The messy craze, which is also potentially harmful to dogs, has prompted West Yorkshire police to issue warning to retailers and parents. It has come to the attention of the police that the new trend has started by groups of youth called beaning. That's what we mentioned. This involves youth throwing the contents of a can of beans over properties, very similar to the trend of throwing eggs at properties. That's what I was going to say. Here in America, we do eggs. We throw eggs at houses for Halloween. Maybe this Halloween, though, hashtag Bean Bandits. I mean, we're all a little too old to be doing these types of things, but I wonder why there are beans. I never knew beans to be harmful to dogs, but so are a lot of things. Chocolate. That's the only one I can come up with. Raisins? Is raisins one? I don't even know. Jelly beans? What can dogs not eat other than chocolate? Now I learned baked beans at the very least, but apparently it can be harmful to them. So that's really why people are up in arms. When you start fucking with dogs, people have no patience for such things. Otherwise, it would just be beans on your car. Who gives a shit? Last month, police launched an appeal after the village of Wannersh was terrorized by so-called bean bandits. They issued a statement that said, if you work in a shop, please can you be aware of use buying large quantities of cans of beans. If you have children living at home, please be mindful if you see them removing cans of beans from the family home. There's plenty of other messy canned vegetables out there. Canned rhubarb would be gross. Just cream of mushroom soup even would be disgusting to throw everywhere. They're going to figure it out. But the beans, I guess, very funny hashtag, nice alliteration, Bean Bandits, be on the lookout in the UK if you're out that way. In one picture, 4 empty cans could be seen discarded near a doorstep studded with little orange beans. Another showed a gray car with sauce dribbling down the driver's window, leaving an unsightly orange smudge. I think that's the one that we just saw, as a matter of fact, on the screen. Beaning. Kids are bored, aren't they? Anything for a TikTok. Anything for a TikTok at the end of the day. Today's Josh Potter Show is brought to us by Candid. You know, when something goes awry in your life, you often need a specialist to help make it better for you. When your car breaks down, you go to a mechanic. When your shower breaks, you get a plumber. Well, if you want to fix your crooked teeth, you go to the orthodontist, right? They're the specialists. And that's what sets Candid apart, you see. They're the invisible, comfortable, and removable aligners. It sets them above the rest here because all the specialists are on board. With Candid, the same orthodontist who created your plan is with you from start to finish, so you never have to wonder how you're doing. There's poorly reviewed and insanely priced clear aligner companies out there. They use general dentists. Candid only works with the orthodontist, the specialist, you see. So your treatment is prescribed and closely monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in tooth movement. You can book an appointment at a Candid studio near you, or you can do everything in the comfort of your own home. How convenient is that? The average Candid treatment is just 6 months. You'll start seeing results way before then, and it costs thousands less than traditional braces. And with your aligner treatment, you'll get Candid's teeth whitening for free. So right now, Candid can help you get the straighter, brighter smile you've always wanted. Right now, you can just get started at your own home for about $15 with Candid starter kits. Or you can book an appointment at Candid Studio. And there's probably one near you today, so go check it out at candidco.com/Josh. Use code Josh. That's candidco.com/Josh. Code Josh. Take advantage of this limited time offer and you'll get that $15 starter kit. That's candidco.com/Josh. Use code Josh. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I'll get into it with the sports because I just went, speaking of TikTok, I mean, I didn't do a TikTok or anything like that. I don't even have TikTok, but I went to the DC United game and TikTok reminded me of that because I saw some people in the road making TikToks and then almost getting run over by a car. It was pretty wonderful. I'll get into it in the sports, though. Roller coaster diarrhea. This coming to us from Jefferson Nally, a very prominent Roach reporter. Jefferson, RJ, Austin. I'm starting to get, an upper echelon of Roach reporter out there, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. JoshPotterShow@gmail.com. He wrote this one. Now, this one came in. This is a bit of a. I'm gonna do a little behind the scenes here and bring you into the newsroom. This one might have run afoul. This shouldn't be something that makes it to air, but it brought up something interesting to me. Jefferson Nally sent this in again. Roller coaster diarrhea. Man splashes 14 people after getting uncontrollable diarrhea on a roller coaster. The reports vary on a man who had uncontrollable diarrhea while enjoying his vacation in one of the most important museums, buildings, gardens, monuments, and restaurants in Port whatever in Spain, where he splashed it over 14 people. He was convinced by his friends to get on the best ride in the park, Ferrari Land. The man who knew he was suffering from gastroenteritis accepted, and his nightmare began. I mean, I have been on many a roller coaster in my day. Never had diarrhea happen. Turns out this might not have happened. I've sussed it out, and this might be satire, which is not satire. This is flat out fake news. If this person did, in fact, make up this story, because there's nothing satirical about that. It's just like a guy had diarrhea on a roller coaster and this guy reported on it. Turns out it's fake. That could very well happen. I'm surprised. I'm sure if we did some bigger, deeper digging, we would find that someone, in fact, at some point has had diarrhea on a roller coaster and it has been a messy nightmare. I recall when I was a youth, we used to do heinous shit on roller coasters. You're going down the hill, hawk a lug, it hits 3 people behind you. I remember my buddy was 3 rows ahead of me. He hawked the grossest loogie in the world. I mean, this thing was maybe 4 loogies in one, just a blob, and it separated and split apart, and it just looked like it was standing still after it left his face. And I, of course, flew into it and just was oh, it was so gross. Now imagine that with some diarrhea. Obviously, if diarrhea happened, it would go all about. But I mean, diarrhea is not so copious amounts of liquid. I don't know. That's why you can tell maybe this didn't occur. I think I had another roller coaster story. Did I not in the other thing here? I think I had another. Yes. This one also this is where Jefferson Nally makes up for himself. This is about a paraplegic man who rode a lagoon ride. And he's suing the amusement park because his foot was shredded. Now, I have something to say about this. I have a bit of a history of this, too. But let's get into the story real quick. Farmington. Salt Lake County man filed a lawsuit against Lagoon Amusement Park alleging that his foot was injured on the Wicked roller coaster. Matthew Christensen, who is a paraplegic, visited the amusement park with his family in October 2020. The lawsuit states that he navigated Lagoon in a wheelchair, and his family helped him onto the front row of the roller coaster, but the ride attendant A ride attendant in charge of securing his lap and leg restraints did not properly secure his right leg. The ride in question launches riders to the top of a 110-foot tower at speeds of 55 miles per hour. According to legal documents, Christensen did not notice the problem because of his paraplegia. Yeah, he was on there, and I mean, most of us would be like, my foot! Oh my God! This guy was like, what? They're like, something's up with your foot, and he probably had to look down and be like, oh yeah, he had no idea. Wild. The forward movement of the car caused Matt's foot to twist outward. His foot was caught in the less than 2-inch space between the stationary platform and the moving car, and his foot was shredded. His attorneys say that he suffered fractures in his leg, foot, toes, as well as an irreparable shredded ligament on his big toe, and he's suing to refund medical costs and damages for the injuries. A spokesman for the Lagoon said officials continue to investigate what happened to cause Christensen's injuries on Wicked, though they are unaware of any litigation and have not yet been served any legal documents, so they're going to decline any comments. Here's the thing, folks. I get it. I mean, one day I am going to probably be blind, and I'm going to want to do normal things that people with sight get to do so I could live some sort of semblance of a normal life. And I get it that paraplegic people and amputees and such want to go on amusement park rides, but here is the problem. Those things aren't designed for people who are of these afflictions, unfortunately. I remember when I was a young boy, Darien Lake is an amusement park near my home, and a veteran, thank you for your service, I think he was missing both of his legs at the kneecap. So he could sit down, and then after the kneecap, nothing. And when you're on a roller coaster, the fact that your legs are down on a chair, that's kind of has to do with restraining you into the wheelchair, correct? So this thing only has a lap band. It's called the Superman Ride of Steel. And so the lap band comes down, the man was riding in the thing, so his feet were like this, the lap band comes down like this. Eventually, he's going over the big hills, and he, of course, is thrown out of the wheelchair or of the roller coaster. Now, in this particular case, it happened to occur at the end of the ride on a series of bumps, and he did in fact get thrown up, but he landed on top of the car again in a different place. So he actually imagine just a torso with arms, I guess, flying through the air. I would rather have diarrhea, frankly, because a flying body could hurt way more than diarrhea. You're a little messed up after diarrhea. I would take all of the fluids. We discussed the fluids in the rankings of them with Sarah Weinshank. I would rather someone jerk off and throw it in the air than have a legless man fly at me. But that's neither here nor there. He did live, was hurt, obviously, and a couple other people were hurt, but he did survive to tell the tale. And I find that very interesting. But there was another incident, too, I want to say, where a man, an amputee, went onto one of these rides and had some sort of calamity happen. And here's the thing. These teenagers who run the ride, you would think that they would come up to them and be like, sir, you shouldn't do this because you could run a risk. And in fact, when it comes to this particular man at this Ride of Steel, they did, in fact, warn him. They said, maybe you shouldn't. And he was like, get out of here. I served my country. Blah, blah, blah. So then they're like, whoa, okay. I mean, what are we going to tell this guy? The guy went to fucking war. He wants to ride a roller coaster. Well, I guess we got to let him. And then it becomes, is it at your own risk? Did you understand that perhaps because of your sort of different circumstances than everyone else who's riding the ride, that something could go awry? Did you take that into consideration and then still go on the ride? I think that's what eventually in a court of law they're going to have to determine when it comes to this paralyzed guy. But the poor guy, that's what's weird about the paralyzed man, is that his foot was just fucked up on this ride. Would that have happened to a person who was just sitting there, or was he just not sitting the appropriate way? They're going to investigate all of those things, I'm sure. But man, oh man, just a gnarly sight. Imagine you're sitting there and next to the guy and you're like, dude, your fucking foot. What the fuck? And he's just like, oh man, what a pretty view. He doesn't even care. He's like, well, we'll take care of it after the ride. Meanwhile, it's just bleeding onto people from 110 feet into the sky. What a wild sight. That was always like the thing that fascinated me about being paralyzed. Like if you had a rock in your shoe, you know, you wouldn't feel it, but you could cut your foot up all on it, and you could like lose all this blood and blah, blah, blah. That part is always terrifying to me. That one part, not the whole like I never get to walk again thing. That one part. Obviously, the whole thing seems like a scary ordeal, but these are things we don't think about unless we, of course, are in that position. And I know I've started having these conversations. I'm thinking more and more about the effects of having to possibly go blind at some point, and I'm like starting to like the little things that you don't consider. I'm starting to consider. So now I'm doing that with all sorts of different ailments and afflictions and things like that. Next up, before we get to sports, we have a couple more things. This is like my all-time worst fear, and that is being arrested for something very small that I didn't even necessarily know that I did, and it turning out to be a hefty sentence despite that. This man was charged with a felony after underpaying for Mountain Dew. What a shit way to just have a chunk of your life taken from you. A man with felony under 3 strikes law after police say he underpaid for a Mountain Dew. That's a terribly written sentence. Police said Joseph Sobolewski stopped at a convenience store in East Central Pennsylvania last month. The store had a promotion where 2 20-ounce Mountain Dew bottles cost $3. That's not so bad. That's not so bad at all. He grabbed one bottle, put $2 on the counter of the store, and he left. Thinking, because it's one bottle, obviously it's $1.50. But a single bottle, you see, costs $2.29 plus tax, not the expected $1.50 since they had this bargain going on. So he actually didn't overpay as he might have assumed. Police and store workers said he underpaid by 29 cents plus tax for a total of 43 cents. Store employees called the police. That's wild. 43 cents, you call the police? I don't know. Did they ask, by the way, hey, how about that 43 cents? No, they just let him walk out the store, and then they were a bunch of snitches. What an awful. I mean, is this guy going to get Employee of the Month at whatever convenience store this is? He better. The manager better recognize this and give him, because otherwise you're just a snitch. Maybe even the manager's like, 43 cents, bro, chill out. The cops came here. Store employees called the police, like I said, and they found him and charged him with a felony. A felony! That is because he probably the 3 strikes thing. He was sent to jail on a $50,000 cash-only bond, facing up to 7 years in prison. The bond was charged 7 days later to a $50,000 unsecured bond. According to court documents, state law says an unsecured bond is granted when the defendant signs an agreement to be liable for a fixed sum of money if he or she fails to appear as required or fails to comply with the conditions of the bail bond. Dog the bounty hunter shit right there. No money or other form of security is deposited. Why such a high penalty, it says? Well, for shorting the store less than 50 cents, Sobolewski was being charged under the state's 3 strikes law for retail theft. He was convicted more than a decade ago for pumping gas without paying. He was also arrested and sentenced for stealing shoes from a Kmart. The shoes cost $39.99. He paid $866 in fines and fees and was sentenced to 3 months in jail for probation violation for that bad boy. So that was his second strike. The first strike was the gas. This guy just seems like he is absent-minded. That's why I'm so terrified that this could happen to me. I'm an absent-minded fuck. Thankfully, I'm not pumping gas these days, but I could imagine just thinking I used my card and I bought the gas. Like, what gas just lets you pump it before you even pay without a card? I guess a bunch do. I don't know. Usually, you have to go in and throw $20 down and then they have you pump it. But nevertheless, that happened. I could see that happening to me. And then he walked out of Kmart, probably tried on shoes. He goes, I'm going to wear them out, and then forgot to pay for them. Isn't that funny how I just assume that he has a kind heart and that was what he just had some absent-minded moments? Probably a scumbag, and just at the end of the day, doesn't really pick and choose his thievings. He doesn't think them out. Do you know what I mean? Because this is not worth it, pal. You already had $866 that you had to pay in fines and fees for those stupid $39.99 shoes. Yowzers. And now, good golly, could see 7 years in jail for not paying 40-some cents. He and his wife were also arrested back in the day for putting craft supplies in their backpack at a Hobby Lobby. This guy is stealing literally bullshit. I mean, goddamn, Hobby Lobby? Ugh, craft supplies? It's like going to Michael's. His bond in that case was $2,000. For what? What were you buying? What do you need to steal at Hobby Lobby? I guess the most expensive thing at Hobby Lobby is probably paints of varying materials. But like, if you're just stealing bullshit from Hobby Lobby, Christ, you got to reassess what's going on here. He's applying for a state-run diversion program. Underpaying for the soda is his fourth charge, but not all agree with the blanket 3 strikes law since it doesn't take into account the context of an alleged crime. That's the problem. There is no context here. I mean, this is all small peanuts. This guy should really we should put him in a home for something else here. For me, I would get to the deterrent factor if someone's thefts were getting worse or higher in value, said the director of Pennsylvania's Board of Parole. But the lack of discretion is what bothers me. It's problematic because it doesn't factor in the amounts. That's what I would think, too. I would be like, well, what can they possibly do to me for 43 cents? Oh, 7 years in jail? Yowzers. Police said the clerk said she followed the man outside to tell him that he didn't pay the full price of the soda, so we're getting to the bottom of that. He told her he did before driving away. Well, I would think I would, too. I threw down $2 for one. It's $3 for two. What's up? Fix your dumb sign then, lady. Maybe they'll get away with it through that. I want to get to the sports here in a couple of moments, but I have a couple of stories left to go. Which one will I wrap up with? This one's good. This one's another international tale. And we have a few viewers, like I said, in Australia, but also in New Zealand as well. And apparently with the things going down in lockdown there in Auckland and in Australia are just crazy. I see videos all the time where it's like the police in Australia are like, this man went for a walk and he's 20 meters away from his apartment and we're going to tackle him. I mean, that was an attempt at an Australian accent and I apologize for that. I'm never going to attempt a New Zealand one, even though I pretty much consider them exactly the same. No offense. 2 gang associates have been arrested at Auckland's southern checkpoint after police discovered them trying to travel into the city with over $100,000 in cash and a car boot full of KFC. Now, when they say a car boot, that is, I do believe, the trunk. Am I wrong? Do we know, Kirsten? Do you know anything about this? They call a trunk a boot. So when we discuss boots in this story, not the shoe, not a boot on your car like when you get a ticket or what have you. This is the trunk. That is the language over there. In a statement Monday, police say officers noticed a suspicious-looking vehicle traveling on a gravel road on Sunday, and upon seeing the police car, the vehicle did a U-turn and sped off trying to evade them. The vehicle eventually pulled over, and police established they had been traveling from Hamilton, trying to get into Auckland. Police say the vehicle was searched and over $100,000 in cash was there, alongside empty ounce bags and large amounts of takeaways. All found. They told, because those are the KFC. Empty ounce bags of KFC, I guess. I don't know. And large amount of takeaways was found. So the takeaways is that this is all Australian talk. I assume that's like to-go stuff from KFC. All the KFC was thrown in the garbage, which I think is a travesty. Auckland police should have to answer for that. There needs to be an internal investigation. Both men, aged 23 and 30, summoned to appear in court on a later date for breaching the health order. That's what this is all about, too. They consider this gang activity because they were running a little bit of a racket, going around collecting money from people and almost like Uber Eatsing, but circumventing Uber Eats with KFC, trying to smuggle in a whole bunch of KFC into Auckland. Maybe they can't even get Uber Eats in New Zealand. I'd be curious to know how strict things are if you're listening over in New Zealand. Do write me an email for next week, joshpottershow@gmail.com, and be my eyes and ears on the ground out there. Be the Roach reporter on the ground in New Zealand to give us a lockdown sort of summation here, because if you can't even get KFC, are you really living a free society? I don't know. I mean, it already is looking hinky. Of course, I don't take into consideration propaganda videos on either side of things, whether they be propaganda or on the opposite end of those. But I I don't know. It seems bananas over there. The fact that you have to pay gangsters to smuggle in your KFC in Auckland is scary. Maybe you can't even get this program there anymore. Since Alert Level 4 came into place, in Auckland's 86 people have been charged with a total of 90 offenses as of 5 p.m. last Sunday. So 86 have been charged with a total of 90 offenses in Auckland since Alert Level 4. Golly, that's terrifying that you have to be under something called Alert Level 4. Like, what are we in fucking 28 days later? This is nuts. I'm so glad people bitch about this fucking country. I say every day, thank God I live here. I am just thank you. And I'm proud to be an American where at least I kind of free. Okay, so the next story before we go into sports, a pizza roll pooper was apprehended. This is good. This is a good story to end on. Good news, because this person was a menace in grocery stores. Wright Johnson, Shirley Wright Johnson. She was a shopper, and she went to a store one Wednesday afternoon, and she said she was picking up some items at the grocery store with her two daughters. When she reached for a bag of frozen pizza rolls, she quickly discovered something else in her hand. Human excrement. Could you imagine? You're in the freezer section. You're going to reach for some pizza rolls. You grab shit. I mean, golly, how do you not see that before you grab it? I don't know. I would be like, I notice the bag of pizza rolls I'm grabbing. But she must have been like kind of looking off, looking at her kids or something. She's looking, I want to grab some pizza rolls. Do, shit in her hand. Frozen shit probably at that. I pick up a bag of pizza rolls, and there's literally shit, she said in a video obtained by Oklahoma City NBC affiliate KFOR. Human shit. Excuse my language, she then said. You can say shit on this program all day, lady. Maybe we got to get this lady on. Shirley Wright Johnson. Someone defecated inside a supermarket freezer onto a bag of Totino's pizza rolls. We all know Totino's, but this case, a man was making a statement, shitting all over him. Then he covered the mess up with another package of treats, police told the TV station. I grabbed the bag. I felt something smushy on the bag, so I turned it over, and there it was, the shit. I was upset. I was disgusted. I feel like I was violated. All the way home, my kids were still like, Mom, I can smell it. I can smell it. I'm like, I smell it too, baby. That's human shit, dude. You can't get that off stuff. You ever get it on something? It's there forever. People think dog shit. Oh, boy, we stepped on dog poop. It's there on your shoe forever. When you have human shit on something, not going anywhere. I'm so glad I haven't shit my pants in so long. Let's see, when's the last time I really shit my pants? It's going back, man. Teenager years. Like, maybe even, like, before teenager. Like, I don't think that I've ever shit my pants as an adult, even, like, in the most dastardly of days. Of course, I've had, just like you, I've had close calls. Is this a fart? Is this shit? And I've dealt with them by going to the toilet and making sure that I knew one way or another. I don't get daring when it comes to farts. I'd rather hold them in my body and it hurts my insides than risk it and blow it. You know what I'm saying? But this, let's see if we can get to they caught the man finally. More police using surveillance video from the scene of the crime flushed out a man they identified as a person of interest. He was booked into the Cleveland County Detention Center on unrelated charges while the poop probe continues. So he was doing something else illegal, and they were like, hey, that guy we just locked up, he looks like the poop bandit in the Totino's thing. I wonder what the other crime was. That's very interesting. A police spokesperson told the Smoking Gun that the man's name will be released if formal charges are filed. The man also was reported taking pictures of women in the grocery store. Well, those two things kind of, when you're taking a shit on the Totino's, you're also doing upskirt shots and things like that as well, I would imagine. But let us get into the sports, shall we? Here we go. That's right. Zach Wilson is continuing to suck. And I haven't seen any evidence. I would love to find evidence of some whore out there in New York City corrupting his life. We've seen his longtime girlfriend. We've seen his mom on Instagram. I think that is so far the worst offense going on for Zach Wilson. The biggest distraction is his mother. I guarantee that has something to do with it. These defenders are coming in there, they're chirping him about his mom, and it's making him throw picks and see ghosts. But we have an update on him here. And it's an article that came out about why are the Jets ruining Zach Wilson? And what should they do after letting him down? Robert Saleh delivered a message, that is the head coach of the New York Jets. He delivered a message over the phone to Zach Wilson the night the Jets made the quarterback the number 2 overall pick of the draft. He said, "This organization is going to lift you, not the other way around," he told his new QB. So far, the Jets have let him down. It is early, and the Jets have faced some strong defenses, but the coaches need to make some changes to help out Zach Wilson. Rex Ryan used to say football is an easy game made complicated by coaches. The Jets coaches, led by offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, need to look at ways to make Wilson more comfortable and make the game easier for a young quarterback who looks like his head is swimming right now. You know why his head's swimming? He's a Mormon boy living in New York City. On the New York Jets, the quarterback of the New York Jets getting scrutinized by the media. His mother is out there taking fucking thought pictures, and now he's got every defensive player, top-tier defensive player, by the way, chirping him about it. I guarantee that's what it is. Take her off Instagram and let the man think. So these are a bunch of reasons why Zach Wilson could get better. None of them mentioning in this article, get his dumb mother off Instagram. This was get Denzel Mims on the field. No, get his dumb mother off Instagram. Now, I don't care if he fails. I want him to fail forever. At least as long as he's a quarterback of the New York Jets. Once they trade him and get rid of him, then, he can do whatever he wants. Hopefully he continues to be bad because, as I mentioned last week, we have the problem of taping this on Friday, it coming out on Tuesday. All the football games are played in between that time. So maybe he had the best week of his life this past week, or maybe he threw 3 more interceptions and sucked. It's never somewhere in the middle. Poor Zach Wilson. But, I continue to root for his failures until he's traded at some point, and it's just nice to see that the Jets continue to ruin their own draft picks. This is an interesting... Hey, do we have that video, by the way? Ooh, okay, cool. I wanted to show this because... Actually, get it ready, and I'll do that at the end because it's a good way to, end the show. We'll pull it up at the end there, so just have it ready there. But I'm going to do one more article real quick. This I thought was interesting, and I thought you might enjoy it, and it has something to do with, I guess, pooping in grocery stores. But there is a baseball team that is making a new name for themselves. A new mascot, if you will. Back in March, we let you know that the Olney Boys and Girls Community Sports Association, in conjunction with Koa Sports, worked out an agreement to bring baseball team playing in the Cal Ripken Baseball League to the Olney area in the summer of 2022. I did not let you know about that. This article saying that it lets you know about that. So they were trying to come up with potential names, and this is a fun thing that communities can do. When your sports team's trying to come up with a name, you get to submit things. I remember when we had a arena football team come to Buffalo, and everyone was mailing in their suggestions. It was on the news all the time. Same with an indoor soccer team. And it's a fun process. You get excited. You're like, what's the new name going to be? Sometimes it can be sort of a shitty process too. For instance, if you are a Cleveland Indians fan and you had to go change the name, some people enjoyed that too. But hey, I think the Guardians, cool name. They really did you dirty with the logo. But those processes can be painful, and they can also be exciting. And in this case, it was exciting because there's really no skin in the game. But what did they decide to come up with, you ask? Well, they decided that they would name themselves the Crop Dusters. Now, I get where they were going with it. They're out there in the cornfields, etc. And that is a occupation where you fly a plane over and you sprinkle whatever the hell. Is it asbestos? I never even knew what they were doing. I just think of Russell Case, American hero from Independence Day, saved us from the aliens that fateful July 4th back in 1996. But I don't know what do they spray on there, Kirsten? Do you know? You're from Iowa, or you've lived in Iowa. Do you know what they're dumping on those crops? Is it to kill bugs? Yeah, which is so weird that they're just raining it from the sky. Like, and they say they miss, it just lands in your fucking house, and you're like, cool, I got pesticides in my fucking kitchen window. Awesome. It doesn't seem like the best way to do it any longer. But nevertheless, crop dusting also synonymous with farting at somebody, and or at least walking by them and farting on them. Perhaps it happens in your office on occasion. Definitely an office offense, crop dusting. So people are kind of like up in arms over this name because crop dusting is the first thing that they come to mind is farting. They don't think of the plane flying in the sky, dumping the poison. And so they might go back and change that. That's all I'm saying. But I wanted to, speaking of crop dusting and poop and things like that, we talked quite a bit about fecal matter today. A great message from Jalen Hurts on this past, well, it will be 2 Monday Night Footballs from now, I guess, ago. On the day that this airs. It was not last night's Monday Night Football. It was the week prior when the Eagles were playing, I don't remember who they were playing. Oh, the Cowboys, excuse me. And the Cowboys really took them to the woodshed. But Jalen Hurts had a really great sort of philosophical outlook on how to take a loss. And if you're dealing with a loss this week, I want you to take this with you too. And maybe you could put this up. This is a nice inspirational quote you could put up, like if you're doing, what's those yarn things you do? You know, you sew them and you hang them up on your wall where it says like blessed, what have you. Some signage, maybe you get some old wood that you burn and you want to paint a nice slogan on it. This could be it right here. Let's give it a listen.
You take you a deuce. You don't sit there and look at it. You flush it and move on. We're going to flush it and move on.
Yeah, when you take a deuce, you don't sit. And now, here's the thing, though. Every now and then, you got to take a look at that deuce because you're sick. You got to find out why. And sometimes, looking at your deuce, well, you can get to the bottom of those things. Jalen Hurts, after that game, he might need to take a look at that deuce just so he knows what's going on with his bowels. And maybe he can make a diet change, go see a doctor or something like that. But I do like the sentiment of it. When you take a deuce, you don't sit there and look at it, you flush it down. And if you've taken a deuce this week, or if you're about to, heed that advice. Flush that deuce down the toilet. Don't sit there and look at it. Move on. And perhaps you'll get a W around the corner. And maybe Jalen Hurts will as well. But that does it for the program for today. Thank you so much for joining us for another Tuesday. Next week will be electric. We're going to have a guest. We're going to talk about the Mets documentary. I mentioned to do your homework on that. I gave you plenty of time, and I'm giving you one more week's time to watch that documentary. And as baseball playoffs are about to begin this week, the Mets did not make it, and we're going to kind of put them to bed with one of the biggest Mets fans out there and one of the biggest content kings in the world. And we'll get to him next week, and I'll let you know all about that. But in the meantime, do continue to send along your Roach reporting. I want to read all your articles. And then at some point here, we're going to have like the Edward R. Murrow Awards for Roach reporters. I've got a few, like I said, in the top of my brain here, always submitting wonderful quality articles. And we have some musical gentlemen as well. Thank you to Griff Parker for submitting this instrumental. You can do that at joshpottershow@gmail.com. You can also send your remixes and things like that for the news, for the sports. Anything you would like to send off, please to be doing that. We'll get our ink for our printer next week. There's some great stories I want to get to as well. And as I mentioned, we're going to have an electric guest on the next show. Josh Potter, Josh _Potter on Instagram is where you can go and follow me there if you want to get tickets to any of the live shows. We've got Buffalo Thanksgiving weekend 5 shows up for grabs there. And I'm going to be announcing more very soon. Also, you can do it through Twitter at J_Potter. Thank you so much to Kirsten. Thank you to all the Roach reporters submitting articles. And thank you to you for not only coming out to the shows, because they've been electric, but for also checking this show out and being a part of this. Thank you for rating, reviewing, and subscribing on iTunes or wherever you might listen. Continue to subscribe. Hit that bell on YouTube if you're a viewer. And I love you very much. We will see you next Tuesday here on The Josh Potter Show.